As the shadows deepened and the moon's pale light filtered through the tattered curtains of my old, decrepit house, I knew I was not alone. Fear gripped me, its icy fingers creeping up my spine. I was alone, or so I thought. The creaking of the wooden floors beneath my feet seemed to whisper secrets, a sinister symphony that danced in the darkness. I had moved to this remote cabin in the woods to escape the noise and chaos of the city. At first, the solitude had been a balm to my soul, but now it was a shroud of fear that enveloped me. The quiet nights, once a refuge, had become a canvas for my overactive imagination. One stormy night, the thunder roared and the rain lashed against the cabin's windows. I was nestled under my warm blanket, trying to read a book to distract myself from the unsettling unease that had settled in my chest. As I read, I became aware of a faint, rhythmic tapping. My heart quickened as I looked around, trying to locate the source of the sound. There was nothing at first, just the persistent drumming of the rain on the roof. I convinced myself it was just a figment of my imagination, the product of isolation playing tricks on me. But the tapping persisted, growing louder and more insistent. I realized it was coming from the window. My trembling hand reached out and pulled back the curtains, revealing a face, distorted and grotesque, with hollow eyes that seemed to suck the light from the room. I screamed and fell back, but when I regained my composure and looked again, the face was gone, leaving only the rain-smeared window behind. I bolted up from the couch, my heart pounding, and stumbled toward the door. The tapping continued, echoing in my ears. I flung open the door and rushed out into the pouring rain, but there was no one in sight. In the following days, my solitude felt oppressive, my nerves frayed. The tapping persisted, moving from window to window, as if mocking me. Every time I looked, I saw the same horrifying face, twisted in a malevolent grin. I began to question my sanity. Maybe it was a hallucination, or perhaps I was losing my mind. Sleep eluded me, and I spent my nights wandering the cabin, clutching a flashlight, and dreading the sound that would come. I tried to escape the torment by taking long walks in the woods, but the face haunted my every step, lurking behind trees, in the corners of my vision, and always just out of reach. One night, as the rain poured down, the tapping grew louder and more relentless. I couldn't take it any longer. I approached the window, my heart pounding in my chest, and then I saw it, the face. But this time, it wasn't on the other side of the glass. It was behind me. I could feel its breath, cold and fetid, on the back of my neck. I turned, but there was no one there. The room was empty, and I was alone with the terror that had become my constant companion. I ran to the door and flung it open, desperate to escape, but the rain was no sanctuary. The face was everywhere, in the raindrops that splattered against my skin, in the whispering wind that seemed to carry its mocking laughter. I retreated inside, my mind unraveling as I realized there was no escape. The cabin had become a prison, and the face, my tormentor. I spent my days in a state of perpetual dread, my nights in a waking nightmare. Sleep was elusive, and when it did come, it brought with it dreams of the face, its eyes hollow and accusing. I knew I couldn't go on like this, and so, one fateful night, I decided to confront the face. I stood before the window, trembling with fear, and waited for it to appear. The tapping started, and I braced myself. But this time, when I pulled back the curtains, there was no face, no grotesque visage. Instead, I saw my own reflection, distorted and twisted by fear. The face had been a reflection of my own madness, my isolation, and my paranoia. I had created a monster in my mind, and it had become my worst enemy. In that moment, I understood that the true horror was not external but internal, a manifestation of the darkness that lurked within me. The cabin had become a prison of my own making, and I was both the victim and the perpetrator of the terror that had consumed my life. As I stood there, staring at my own reflection, the tapping ceased and the rain began to let up. The cabin was silent, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, I could escape the darkness that had taken hold of me. But one question lingered in my mind. Would the face return, or was it gone forever, a specter of my own making? A haunting reminder of the horrors, that the human mind can conjure in the depths of solitude.